A comprehensive report on the global state of religious freedom affecting all religious communities was released by Aid to the Church in Need in Rome this week. It finds that governments in 52 countries use systematic strategies to control or silence religious life. Who are the worst offenders? Here to give us an overview is editor of the 2025 Religious Freedom Report, Marta Petrosillo. Marta, thank you for being here. Aid to the Church in Need is a pontifical foundation. It was founded in 1947 to support Christians who suffer and are persecuted. Your latest report finds that authoritarian regimes are mainly responsible for driving the religious persecution we're seeing now. How did you all identify these 52 governments or regimes, and what signs are Aid in the Church for Need looking for while compiling a report like this?
Well, our report, as you said, assessed the situation regarding religious freedom in 196 countries in the world. And for each of the country profile, for each country, we analyze the legal framework and the incident occurring. So in many of the country, we identify either as countries of persecution, and there are 24 for this edition, or countries of discrimination, and we have 38. In this edition, we identify as well the main driver of persecution or discrimination. And sometimes you have only one main driver, sometimes you might have two different main drivers combining together, creating persecution or discrimination. And in 52 countries, as you said, authoritarian regimes and very restrictive law are undermining religious freedom, either controlling people, preventing them to practice their faith, arresting them arbitrarily on other excuses only because they are meeting together to pray. So in these countries, the law and the regimes are strongly not only controlling but preventing people to enjoy full religious freedom.
Well, and the report shows, Marta, religious freedom to be a casualty of war in some cases. In many regions affected by armed conflicts, Syria, Myanmar, Ukraine, religious communities often suffered targeted violence. You have terrorist groups. We reported on this last week with Nina Shea. Boko Haram, Islamic State affiliates, Al-Shabaab, they continue to use religion as a pretext for violence against Christians and Muslims in some occasions who reject extremist ideology. Where are the worst examples of the breakdown in religious freedom, Marta, that you all found this year? What surprised you?
Unfortunately, we have many hotspots for this kind of violence. I would like to recall, for instance, Burkina Faso and the Sahel region for what regard the jihadism, because we saw there really a huge escalation in violence against religious group. The surprise, even though it's not a really surprise, but a region where we see that the situation is worsening is Latin America. And there we have, of course, the example of Nicaragua as an authoritarian regime really attacking the church, arresting and exiling religious priests and sisters. But this is unfortunately just an example. We saw also in that region as organized crime is attacking the church. One example is in Mexico, where many priests were killed. Yes, where many priests were killed during the latest year because of their mission in defending people, in standing for their rights. And this is something that, even though the cartel do not attack a priest for his faith per se, but his mission or his pastoral work it became something that they need to stop because it prevents them to continue their criminal activity.
The report points to something called the Cuban model, if I'm not mistaken, where these other governments in Latin America, South and Central America, they are modeling the Cuban example. Tell me what that means, what that looks like, and how we're seeing examples of that. I mean, you've referenced a little bit of it.
Yes, spotted specifically in Nicaragua and Venezuela, because the Cuban model, this control, this a strict control of religion that started in Cuba many decades ago, the more and more has been seen in those two countries. So religious activities are controlled or prevented. There is really a difficult life for all the people working as religious priests or sisters in those countries. And the example of Nicaragua I was saying before, it's really evident because we have many priests exiled either or even in jail.
The remarkable thing, Marta, is that at a time when you see the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and the Trump administration targeting Venezuela, targeting Maduro there because of his outrageous human rights and religious record, I don't know why the church isn't more vocal. For whatever reason, they're absolutely silent on this when, you know, a little moral cover might be a good thing. But let's leave that aside. Last week on the show, we had Nina Shea here, and we reported on the efforts underway in the United States to have the Trump administration designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern for religious violence. As you know from your report, that country is gripped by Christians being savaged, really a genocide at the hands of radical Islamists. Your thought on the persecution there, and what is the takeaway?
The situation is keep worsening. We have many different issues there. On one hand, you have Boko Haram and other jihadist groups' activity there, and then there is the phenomenon of the Fulani and the attack done by the Fulani that they are also targeting often the Christian community. That the situation is, of course, complex. There are many components in this, but when they attack a church and a Christian community, that's clear that there is there is a reasons related also to religion. But they attack. We have to say that they attack also Muslims who refuse their ideology. So the situation in Nigeria, we included Nigeria in the 24 countries of persecution because the situation there is really critical.
Yeah. Vatican Secretary of State Cardinal Pietro Parolin was on hand at the unveiling of your report in Rome this week. He condemned the yearly increase in religious freedom violations affecting now 5.4 billion people worldwide. He also commented specifically on the situation of Christians in Nigeria. He said it is not a religious conflict, but rather more a social one. For example, disputes between herders and farmers. We should also recognize that many Muslims in Nigeria are themselves victims of the same intolerance. These are extremist groups that make no distinction in pursuing their goals. They use violence against anyone they see as an opponent. Marta, do the results of your report bear that out and bear the Cardinal's interpretation here? I've seen a lot of reportage on this over years. When you look at something like Inter-Society, which does a lot of local data gathering, you know, they claim that 3 churches a day are destroyed. 35 Christians are killed. I doubt if that's all over herding and farmer land rights.
Cardinal Parolin didn't say that in his speech in our conference. His speech was really strong and underlining the importance of religious freedom. We were not there because it was outside, but I know that Cardinal Parolin is one of the most acquainted people on religious freedom. He has a huge knowledge on this. I think that, but I can only suppose that what it was meaning, and probably we just having a part of the sentence. It was referring to the complex situation there. In our report, we are documenting a violation of religious freedom against all the religious groups. Of course, in the case of Nigeria, there are specific anti-Christian incident, but we are not saying that only Christians are targeted in Nigeria, because as I also said before, in some cases we have also many Muslims that refuse extremist ideology being killed.
Turning to Syria, the massacre of hundreds of members of the Alawite community in March of 2025 is another deeply disturbing instance of people being attacked for their faith. Christians were affected as well. At the end of April, there were also clashes between members of the Druze minority and pro-government troops, which left nearly 100 people dead. Marta, there is uncertainty about the future of Christians in Syria because of the government of President al-Shara. What can you tell us about that situation?
Yes, there is uncertainty because we all know that the past of the current government that before was related with the jihadist group, and also they are mentioning on Sharia in the new draft of the constitution. So far, we saw attack. There was also an anti-Christian attack in last June. So we are watching the situation closely because at the moment it's uncertain.
Well, tell me what Aid to the Church in Need is asking. What can the faithful do? What should the posture of anybody watching be vis-a-vis these cases of religious persecution that we're seeing all over the globe?
Yes, we are celebrating this year the 25th anniversary of the Religious Freedom Report, and we are always saying that, as the Holy Father said, this is not just a tool of information; it's bearing witnesses, and but we do not want just to inform people. We would like people to be engaged. And this is why this year, along with the launch of the Religious Freedom Report, we launch also a petition, a campaign to support this petition in defense of religious freedom, and specifically built on the Article 18 of the Declaration of Human Rights. And so we ask everyone to engage with us, to stand up and to sign this petition to defend together religious freedom, because as we said, religious freedom is not a privilege, it's a human right, and it's our responsibility, it's our common responsibility to defend it.
Marta Petrosillo, thank you for being here. You can find Aid to the Church in Need's Religious Freedom in the World Report 2025 at churchinneed.org. Thank you, Marta.
Thank you.